You wake up and follow the routine. The same morning, the same mirror, the same face. But something feels wrong. You can't name it, but it's there. A quiet discomfort that never quite leaves. Carl Jung believed that most people live their entire lives without truly meeting themselves. We perform, we adapt, we become what others need us to be, and somewhere in that performance, we disappear. As children, we learned quickly. Cry too much, you're difficult. Speak too loudly, you're too much. Show your anger, you're bad. So we learned to hide. We learned to become acceptable. Jung called this the persona, the mask we wear to meet the world. It's not entirely false, but it's not entirely you. It's the compromise between who you are and who you're allowed to be. At first, the mask feels like protection. It keeps you safe from judgment and rejection. It helps you belong. But over time, something strange happens. You forget you're wearing it. You build a life around the mask. You choose careers that fit it, relationships that reinforce it, habits that maintain it. And slowly the person underneath becomes a stranger, a forgotten version of you. Then one day, you achieve everything you're supposed to want. The job, the relationship, the life that looks perfect. But you feel nothing, or worse, you feel empty, like you've won a game you never wanted to play. Jung believed this is the crisis that wakes people up. The moment when success feels like failure, when having everything reveals you have nothing, because you've been living someone else's idea of a good life. This is when the real questions begin. Not what should I do, but what do I actually want? Not who should I be, but who am I? These questions feel dangerous because they threaten everything you've built. Jung called this process individuation. It's not about finding yourself in some mystical sense. It's about confronting everything you've rejected, denied, and buried. It's about meeting the parts of you that you've exiled. Because here's what most people don't understand. You're not lost because you don't know who you are. You're lost because you've spent years running from who you are, from the parts that don't fit the mask. Maybe you buried your anger because nice people don't get angry. Or you hid your ambition because it seemed selfish. Or you suppressed your gentleness because it looked weak. These parts don't disappear. They wait in the shadow. Jung said, what you resist persists. The parts you reject don't vanish. They grow in the dark. They leak out in your dreams, your slips of tongue, your inexplicable reactions. They control you from the shadows. This is why finding yourself is uncomfortable. It's not a peaceful journey of self-love quotes and meditation apps. It's a confrontation. It's looking at the parts of yourself you've spent years avoiding. It requires courage. You have to ask difficult questions. Why do I feel resentful in this relationship? Why does my success feel hollow? Why do I feel more alive in fantasies than in my actual life? These questions have answers you might not like. Jung believed the unconscious sends you messages constantly, through your dreams, through your body's complaints, through the patterns that keep repeating in your life. But you have to be willing to listen. Most people ignore these messages, they stay busy. They distract themselves. They medicate the discomfort with work, relationships, substances, scrolling. Anything to avoid the conversation with themselves. Anything to maintain the mask. But the call doesn't stop. It gets louder. The anxiety intensifies. The emptiness deepens. The body breaks down. Because your authentic self is demanding to be acknowledged. It will not be silenced forever. Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, not who your parents wanted, not who your culture demands, not who your fear has shaped you into, but who you are beneath all of that conditioning. This doesn't mean you become selfish or reckless. It means you become real. You stop performing authenticity and start living it. You make choices from your center, not from fear of judgment. You speak your truth, even when it's inconvenient. The process is messy. You'll make mistakes. You'll hurt people who love the mask but don't recognize the real you. You'll lose relationships that were built on your compliance. This is part of the cost. It's painful but necessary. Jung warned that becoming yourself means accepting loneliness. Not everyone will understand. Not everyone will approve. The people who benefited from your mask will resist your transformation. Some will leave. And that's okay. Because the alternative is worse. The alternative is spending your entire life as a stranger to yourself. It's reaching the end and realizing you never actually lived. You performed, you survived, but you never truly existed. Jung believed that life begins the moment you find yourself, not when you're born, not when you achieve something, but when you finally stop living for everyone else, when you finally come home to yourself. This is when you stop asking what's wrong with me and start asking what's right with me that I've been denying. You stop trying to fix yourself into an acceptable shape. You start accepting the shape you actually are. You discover that your sensitivity isn't weakness, your intensity isn't too much, your quietness isn't a flaw. These are features, not bugs. They're part of your authentic design. They've been strengths disguised as problems. Jung said the goal isn't perfection, it's wholeness. It's integrating all the parts you've fragmented. The anger and the gentleness, the strength and the vulnerability, the light and the shadow. You become complete, not perfect. This is what it means to individuate, to become undivided, to stop splitting yourself into acceptable and unacceptable pieces, to stop choosing between being loved and being real, to finally allow yourself to be both complicated and whole. The journey inward is the longest journey you'll ever take, not because the distance is far, but because you've spent so long running in the opposite direction. Every step toward yourself feels like walking against a current. You'll be tempted to turn back, to return to the comfortable lie of the mask, to choose peace over truth. But Jung believed that once you've glimpsed your authentic self, you can't fully unsee it. The call persists. Finding yourself means finding your own values, not the ones you inherited, not the ones society imposed, but the ones that resonate in your bones, the ones you defend even if no one agreed with you. It means finding your own rhythm, not rushing because everyone else is rushing, not slowing down because someone says you're too intense, but moving at the pace that feels true, even if it makes you different. It means finding your own voice, the one that's been whispering beneath all the learned phrases and borrowed opinions, the voice that sounds like you at 3 in the morning when no one's watching, raw and unpolished and real. Jung said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Your patterns aren't destiny, they're unexamined programming. The moment you see them, you can choose differently. This is the power of self-awareness, not to judge yourself, not to fix yourself, but to see yourself clearly, to understand why you react the way you do, why you choose what you choose, why you fear what you fear. With awareness comes choice. You're no longer a passenger in your own life. You become the author. You decide which patterns to keep and which to release, which voices to listen to and which to question. But this requires brutal honesty. You can't find yourself while lying to yourself. You have to admit the marriage isn't working, the career isn't fulfilling, the friendship is one-sided, the life you're living isn't yours. This truth-telling starts small, admitting you don't like something everyone expects you to like, saying no when you've always said yes, choosing silence when you'd usually perform. These small rebellions build toward freedom. Jung believed that the wound is where the light enters. Your pain isn't random. It's pointing to where you've abandoned yourself, where you've betrayed your truth, where you've chosen acceptance over authenticity. The wound is the map home. So you follow the pain, not to wallow in it, but to understand it. What is this trying to tell me? What part of me is crying out? What truth am I avoiding? The pain becomes a teacher, not an enemy. You learn that your anxiety isn't a disorder to medicate away. It's information. It's telling you you're living out of alignment, that you're in situations that violate your nature, that you're pretending to be someone you're not. You learn that your depression isn't just chemical. Sometimes it's your soul's way of saying, this life isn't working, that you've compromised too much, that you've gone too far from your center, that you need to change course. Jung said that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. They'll stay in toxic relationships, work themselves to exhaustion, numb themselves with distractions. Anything to avoid the confrontation with truth. But avoidance has a price. It costs you your vitality, your joy, your sense of meaning. You become a ghost in your own life, present but not alive, breathing but not living, existing but not being. The moment you stop avoiding is the moment life begins. Not a new life. Your actual life, the one that's been waiting for you to show up. the one that requires your presence, not your performance. Jung believed this is when you meet your true calling, not a career or achievement, but a way of being, a quality of presence. You stop asking what should I do with my life and start asking who am I here to be. Your purpose isn't something you find out there, it's something you uncover within. It's been there all along, buried under expectations and fears and the need to be acceptable. You don't create it, you excavate it. And when you finally touch that authentic core, something shifts. The anxiety doesn't disappear, but it changes quality. It becomes excitement. The fear remains, but it becomes fuel. You're no longer running from yourself, you're running toward yourself. This is what Jung meant when he said life begins when you find yourself. It's not about reaching a destination. It's about ending the exile. It's about coming home to the person you've always been underneath the masks and roles. You stop living from obligation and start living from choice. You stop moving from fear and start moving from desire. You stop speaking from what's safe and start speaking from what's true. This is the beginning. This is where life starts. The world needs you to find yourself, not another performer, not another people pleaser, not another person living half alive, but you in your full, complicated, messy, authentic truth. That's what's missing. That's what the world is waiting for. Jung spent his life studying the human psyche, and his conclusion was simple but profound. You can't live someone else's life without dying inside. You can't wear a mask forever without suffocating. Eventually, you must choose. Safety or truth? Acceptance or authenticity? Most people choose safety. They die with their song still inside them, their story untold, their truth unspoken. Not because they lacked talent or opportunity, but because they never found the courage to meet themselves, to become themselves. But you're here, listening to this, which means some part of you is ready to stop performing, ready to stop hiding, ready to ask the dangerous questions, ready to face the parts of yourself you've been avoiding, ready to begin. Life begins the moment you find yourself. Not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, not when you're ready. But now, in this moment, when you decide that being real is worth more than being liked, that truth is worth more than comfort. So ask yourself, who am I beneath the mask? What have I been denying? What truth have I been avoiding? What would I do if I wasn't afraid? These questions are the beginning, the door opening, the invitation to finally meet yourself. And when you finally answer honestly, when you finally stop running and turn to face yourself, you'll discover something unexpected. The person you've been avoiding isn't a monster. It's you, the real you. And they've been waiting for you all along.